This is the Spartan Body Mind Podcast. My name is Seth Winterhalter. The Spartan Body and Mind. We are a group of people trying to help men reclaim their manhood. How do we do that? By stopping our shitty excuses, by taking ownership of what really matters in life. So if you're a man, it is time. It's time to retake manhood. How do we do that? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about one of the ways to become a better man. How do I become a better man? How do I even know what manhood is? And you know, let's just be honest. You know, if you're not living up to the best version of yourself. You know, if you're overwhelmed, you're exhausted, you're stressed out. You can sense, is life, just ask yourself, here it is life thriving for you? When you think about your life, when you think about your present, and when you think about where you're going in the future, do you get excited? Are you satisfied? Are you enjoying where you are now? And are you excited about the path that lies ahead, about the growth, about the opportunities? And that doesn't, I'm not just asking you to be an optimist. I'm asking you to be a realist and really go, do I like the life I'm living now? Am I satisfied with myself, my physical, mental, emotional well-being? Am I satisfied in my relationships? Am I satisfied in my work? Am I satisfied in my purpose, my meaning, my intention to live? Am I giving something to my work? Am I giving something to my community, to the people around me? Am I enjoying my play? Is just life all work? Is it all a sense of I don't have enough play? I don't have, right? Is it lacking? And again, no one's life's going to be perfect. We're not asking you to have a perfect life. We're asking you to really be enjoying the reality of your life now, to be satisfied with where you're at in a way that's not, well, I'm going to be like I need to create satisfaction, but to say, no, I think that it's not perfect, but I think things are actually thriving. And do you see where you can grow to make things even better in the future in those key categories of life, yourself, your relationships, and your purpose? So that's really what it means to be a thriving man, really taking ownership of manhood, really experiencing the full embodiment of manhood. It's taking responsibility for the life that you're living. And so we want to help. And that's why we say we got to cut through excuses, because a man will make a lot of excuses to justify his position because he doesn't really want to deal with it. He wants to stay comfortable. He wants to stay neutral, and that's not helping your life. It's not helping you personally. It's not helping the people around you. It's not helping you live a life of meaning. So that's why we are so invested in helping. And so how do we do that? We help you take ownership. So today we're going to look, how do you become a better man? One of the key ways, I think, and again, if you're a gal listening to this, how do you become a better woman? The same thing applies to you. I am a guy. I want to specifically help men because I have lived a journey of not taking ownership, of having ownership in some areas and not in others, being healthy in some and not being unhealthy in a lot of areas. And so I just know that when a man thrives, the things that around him thrive. When you are taking ownership of yourself, you tend to then allow the things, you tend to be a fertilizer of good, of allowing things to bloom around you instead of allowing things to crumble and shrink and shrivel around you. So here today, how do I become a better man? 3 things. How do you become a better man? 3 things. Number 1, self-awareness. Be aware. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of how you think. Be aware of how you act. Be aware of how you feel. I think people, especially men are very afraid of feelings. And there's probably a justified reason. There's a good reason to be afraid of, not afraid, but to be mindful of feelings, because if feelings direct you, if you're just directed by your feelings, that's a really weird place to be. You're gonna be all over the map. Like, you don't want your feelings to dominate you. You want truth to dominate you. You want that truth to be embodied by, right? You're going to have feelings. That truth should feel good. That truth should be like, yes. And it doesn't always feel good because it pushes against, right, comforts. It pushes against apathy. It pushes against false pleasure. And so truth, it still is tied to feelings. If the truth doesn't make you feel anything, like the truth of I'm trying to think I don't want to get into the weeds. You know this. When you should have a positive feeling response to truth. And the reason you might not is because you don't like that truth. So being self-aware, though, helps us go, man, where am I? How am I doing? How am I doing when the truth is brought to me? How am I doing when, how am I feeling? Am I aware of my actions in different situations? How are you around people? What are you doing in your spare time? What habits and rhythms? How do I just be more aware of me and my thoughts, me and my feelings, me and my actions? Are you self-aware? Second, then, as we become more self-aware, we're able to do some self-assessment. We need to be self-aware so that then we can truly self-assess out of reality. Instead of assessing out of what I want to be, assessing out of assumptions, assessing out of, what do you call those? I have the wrong word in my head. Not affirmations, but, sometimes when we do if you've ever taken an assessment test, right? So there's the DISC test, there's the Strength Finders test, Enneagram, all kinds of self-assessment tests. We oftentimes will answer questions according to what we wish we were, aspirationally, right? Well, I desire to be this, so that's what I'm going to write. Of course I'm enthusiastic. Of course I love leadership. I love conflict. Right? You can answer aspirationally, and then you get results, and you're like, you feel good about them because you're like, yes, this is who I want to become. But there's a conflict because it's not really you. To be able to be accurate in self-assessment means you actually do a good job of self-awareness, that you can actually be honest with yourself to say, I actually don't do well in these situations. I actually don't do well in conflict. I tend to do X, Y, Z. The more self-aware you are, the more effective your self-assessment will be, so that then you can actually make changes. Number one, how do I become a better man? I work on self-awareness. Number two, with that self-awareness, I work on self-assessment. Assessment is when you really get into what is creating those actions. What's going on in my mind? What's going on in my feelings? What's going on then in my actions? Man, why do I keep shutting down when I'm pressed against in this? Why do I keep getting angry why do I resort to, right? Be aware of how you're acting, specifically in maybe tense situations, or maybe be aware of when you're not acting like the man you know you should, and go, I had this even just today. I was in a conversation, and I'm going, this is not going the way I want it to go. This is not who I want to present. So I'm kind of having while I'm having a conversation in my head going, okay. And then even the person said, this is what I'm experiencing. And I wanted to push back on it, because I was like, well, that's not my intention. That's not what I mean. I'm trying to bring clarity. And it seems like you're not trying to own some clarity. And even in that, I'm like, well, that's still, I have to take ownership that, yes, they have to take ownership of listening with big ears, but I have to be, if they're saying this is what I'm feeling or this is what I'm hearing, I have to go, okay, how can I be more clear? How can I, especially if conversations get heated, if conversations are where you're trying to really own an idea or compel someone to take your side of the action, whatever that is, could be in the boardroom, could be in your marriage, could be in a lot of different places and aspects of relationships. You want to be aware of how you're acting. You want to be aware of what the other person is receiving, so that you can go, okay, how can I be more clear in this? How can I actually act in a way? How can I assess? And then assessment means you're going to then make some changes. Maybe it's in beliefs. Maybe it's in actual articulations. Maybe it could be in a variety of ways. So how do you become a better man? Number one, I need to work on self-awareness. I need to have an awareness in the moment so that I don't get out of control. Number two, I need to assess then. It's one thing to be aware. It's another then to assess it so that you can change it. And that's really number three, is just self-control. The more in control of yourself you can be, the more fruitful your life will be, because you won't be out of control. An out of control man just is all over the place, mentally, emotionally, physically. I work with a lot of out of shape guys, and it's because they are not practicing self-control. They're not practicing self-control in their nutrition. They're not practicing self-control in their actions, right? Instead of being active and going to the gym or walking or doing something productive to get blood flow working to stimulate muscles, you're instead sitting on a couch. You're playing video games. Whatever it is, you're making the wrong decisions for your present and for your future. And so that may be where you are. You go, man, self-aware, self-assessment. I haven't been doing any of this. And maybe that's why. When I think about self-control, am I a picture of self-control? Not really. I'm a picture of a bit out of control. My life seems to be, that's why when I feel exhausted, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I feel on edge emotionally. Everything is kind of snappy. I'm angry. Those are the signs of an out of control life. So how do we help you? How do we help you take ownership and become more in control? And remember this. I talked with a client the other day about this who had a breakthrough. There's out of control. There's the first stage of in control. And then there's what I call freedom. This could be a whole nother podcast, but I'll give it to you now. Out of control is where you are just led by whatever happens in the moment. You're going to have a violent reaction. Could be a violent reaction of happiness and overwhelm. It could be a violent reaction of anger. It could be a violent reaction of depression. You're out of control. And one of the signs of out of control is just hyper response, hyper emotional response, hyper even physical response. The first stage is going, how do I control? But see what I'm doing right here, if you're watching the video on this, I'm holding tightly my hands. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, is they think if I overeat, to be in control means I don't, and I force myself, and right? But here's the issue. That white knuckling, you're not really in control. What you're doing is just swinging the pendulum from I do whatever I want to now I am disciplined to not do that thing. But here's the problem with it. Your mind is still on that thing. You're not experiencing the real stage of having self-control, and that's freedom. Freedom to live. Freedom to go, my emotions are good, but they shall not dominate me. Feelings are good, but I shall not be controlled by my feelings. Actions are good, but I'm not going to be hyper in my actions. For instance, meaning, it's good to serve, but I'm not going to put my identity in serving people so that I serve in a way that leaves me empty and dry and overwhelmed because everyone else comes first. That's not healthy. That's not in control. Control is, I need to make sure that I have a full cup, or at least more than half a cup. I need to make sure my mental health is good, my physical health is good. I need to prioritize some of these things so then I can pour out something of substance, something of health and good to people instead of dust from a dry cup, because it's all about service and it's nothing about me. Not healthy, not in control. White hands, white knuckles, because you're so focused on not doing the thing that was out of control. So do you hear that? Wherever your out of control is, the temptation is then to swing the pendulum to a firm in control. But that's not, you might need to do that for a moment to get control, but you want to get to freedom. You want to get to a place where, like with nutrition, I'm not dominant. I'm not always thinking about food. Food's just fuel. Am I really hungry? I'm actually in tune to my body now. I see a plate of cookies and I'm not hungry, so it's not even tempting to me. It's not interested. Control, self-control, freedom. So, how do you become a better man? Self-awareness, self-assessment, self-control. I hope that's encouraging to you. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Comment, share, do something to help the algorithms. Join the free Facebook group. Go to Spartan Body Mind and join the free group and get after it. Become a better man with other men and other women, trying to become better women. So better people, right? Again, if you're interested in becoming a man and you say, God, I need a plan. I need some help with this. I need a plan. I need a path. I need to know, these things don't change overnight. They don't change in a week. It takes time. And so we have a specific 90-day program. It's the initial Spartan program that we put you in. And it's really you getting a hold of yourself. You take take ownership of your physical health, you take ownership of your mental health, you take ownership of your emotional health, and we help you with that. We put you in with a group of men who are rowing in the same direction with the same thing, taking that ownership, so that then you build habits. That's why it's 90 days. You build habits to become the man that you desire to become. So then after, you're able to pour into your relationships, you're able to pour into your purpose at your work, your avocation, your hobbies, also your play. So if we can help you in that, you can go to the Spartan Program and fill out the form attached there. We'd love to follow up with you and see if the Spartan Program would be a fit for you. There it is. Tune in next time when we talk about the 3 secrets of recovery, how to make sure recovery is happening well. Until then.